Welcome, dear viewers. For more exclusive, thrilling stories every week, join our membership. Sit back, relax, and sip your coffee. Enjoy. They don't tell you what it is. That's the first red flag I should have noticed. The substance has a name, of course, BB137. But what it does? Why it's here in Clarkston, Montana, of all places. That information is above my pay grade. I'm not a scientist. I'm just the night security guard who makes $19.50 an hour to patrol the hallways of Western Montana Bioresearch, which squats like a concrete fortress at the edge of town, its windowless walls stark against the pine-covered mountains beyond. Just follow the rules, Rick. Dr. Mendoza told me during orientation 3 months ago, sliding a laminated card across her desk. Nothing to worry about if you follow the rules. The fluorescent lights in her office made her look sickly, but then again, everyone at WMBR has that same pallor. Like they've all been underground too long, even though half the facility sits above ground. I still don't know why I took this job. That's not entirely true. I know exactly why. Divorced at 37, drowning in debt after Allison took everything in the settlement, and desperate for a fresh start somewhere she'd never look for me. When the job listing popped up online, security personnel needed, no experience required, $19.50 per hour, medical benefits, Clarkston, Montana. It seemed like fate. The town itself isn't much. A single main street with a diner, hardware store, dive bar, and exactly one stoplight. Population 847, according to the sign, though I'd guess it's closer to 300 now. The boom days of logging are long gone. The lab is the only thing keeping this place alive. First week on the job, I noticed how the locals at Murphy's bar would quiet down when I walked in, despite my attempts to be friendly. Lab folk keep to themselves. The bartender, Max, finally told me one night sliding me a beer. Been that way since they built the place back in '97. It wasn't until my second month that I started noticing things. The way the night shift scientists would sometimes stare at nothing for minutes at a time. The containment protocols that seemed excessive even for a biohazard lab. The weekly power surges every Thursday at exactly 3:17 a.m. and the residents of Clarkston. Some of them just changed. Like Donna at the diner. Sweet lady, maybe 50, who made the best blueberry pancakes I'd ever tasted. One day she's chatting about her grandkids, the next she's mechanical, distant, her movements jerky as she pours coffee, a strange glint in her eyes when she looks at me. Seasonal depression, Max said when I mentioned it. Winter's coming. Hits some folks harder than others. But it was only September, and the aspens had barely started turning. Then there was the incident with the trucker. Big guy, passing through on his way to Missoula. Started screaming about wrong faces in the middle of dinner. Said everyone looked like poorly made copies. The sheriff came. Dragged them out. 3 days later, I saw the same truck still parked behind the diner, gathering dust. Last night, making my usual rounds, I found Dr. Lanning in Lab 7, standing motionless in front of the sealed container of BB137. The substance glowed faintly blue through the specialized glass, moving in ways that liquid shouldn't move. "Everything okay, Doc?" I asked. She turned to me, slowly, her neck making a slight cracking sound. "It's beautiful, isn't it, Rick?" she whispered, her voice raspy. "It wants to help us, to fix us." Her eyes looked wrong, the pupils too wide, reflecting the blue glow of the substance. That's when I really started paying attention to the rules on my laminated card. Because I'm starting to think they're not just corporate protocol. I think they're keeping something contained. And I don't mean just BB137. My shift starts at 10 p.m. I arrive at 9:30 because I'm paranoid about being late. especially since Dr. Kapoor disappeared last month after showing up 15 minutes late for his shift. The official story was that he transferred to another facility, but his apartment is still untouched, mail piling up. Nobody seems concerned. The WMBR facility sits at the end of Old Mill Road, where the defunct lumber mill used to operate before it shut down in '92. The building itself is a stark contrast to everything else in Clarkston, sleek gray concrete with subtle government-funded modernism, surrounded by an 8-foot fence topped with razor wire. The sign at the gate simply reads, "Western Montana Bio-Research, authorized personnel only." I badge in at the security entrance, nodding to Hank, the evening guard I'm relieving. He's in his 50s, ex-military, with a permanent 1,000-yard stare. He barely acknowledges me anymore, just gathers his thermos and keys. "Everything quiet?" I ask, the same question I always ask. "Scheduled maintenance in Lab 3, power fluctuations possible." His voice sounds mechanical tonight. "Follow the rules, Rick." As he walks past me, I notice a faint blue stain on his sleeve cuff, like someone had splattered ink there, except it seems to pulse ever so slightly. I settle into the security office, logging into the system and checking the monitors showing the hallways, labs, and exterior of the building. Nothing unusual. Just scientists working late, the cleaning crew mopping floors, and the gentle hum of the ventilation system that never quite covers the other sounds, the ones that seem to come from behind the walls. I pull out my laminated rule card and study it for the 100th time. Security. Protocol. Night shift. Complete perimeter checks at 11 p.m., 1 a.m., 3 a.m., and 5 a.m. No exceptions. If lights flicker in any corridor, exit immediately and report to Central Security. Avoid physical contact with research personnel between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. If you hear your name called, respond only if you can see who is calling you. Lab 7 requires 2-person authentication after midnight. Never enter alone. If alarms sound, follow Evacuation Protocol A. Do not use Evacuation Protocol B unless instructed by Dr. Mendoza personally. In case of containment breach, secure yourself in a yellow-marked room. Do not attempt to assist others. Security cameras may show periodic glitches. If human figures appear distorted or move in unusual ways, log the occurrence but do not investigate personally. If you encounter any substance with blue luminescence, do not touch it and report immediately. The third-floor corridor is off-limits between 3 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. Simple enough, right? Except no one ever explained what these rules are actually protecting against. During training, I asked about rule number 3, and they said it was to minimize contamination risk. But why those specific hours? At 11 p.m., I start my first perimeter check, flashlight in hand. The Montana night is crisp, stars brilliant above the lab. This used to be my favorite part of the shift, a moment of peace before the long night ahead. Tonight, though, something feels off. The air has a metallic taste, and there's a low-frequency hum coming from somewhere I can't pinpoint. As I round the east corner of the building, my radio crackles. "Security, this is Lab 7. We need authentication for sample retrieval." I freeze. It's Dr. Lanning, the same one who was acting strange last night. Protocol says I should assist, but after what I saw, "On my way," I respond. Because what choice do I have? When I reach Lab 7, Dr. Lanning is waiting with another researcher I don't recognize. Tall, thin, face obscured by a surgical mask and protective eyewear. Standard PPE for the lab, but still unsettling at this hour. "ID badges, please," I say, following protocol. They hold them up. Dr. Lanning's hands have a slight tremor, but her ID checks out. The tall researcher's badge says, "Dr. Patel," though I've never seen him before. I swipe my security access, they scan their badges, and the reinforced door to Lab 7 slides open with a pneumatic hiss. The air that escapes is noticeably colder. "Thank you, Rick," Dr. Lanning says, her voice oddly formal. "Will only be a moment." As they enter, Dr. Patel turns, and for a split second, I see beneath his mask where it slipped down slightly. His mouth seems wrong, too wide, stretching toward his ear. The door closes before I can process what I've seen. I complete my round and return to the security office, hands shaking slightly as I log the authentication. On the monitors, I can see Lab 7, but the camera angle only shows the entrance area, not the secure storage where BB-137 is kept. At 12:43 a.m., Dr. Lanning and Dr. Patel exit Lab 7. On camera, they walk down the corridor together, but something about their movement is subtly wrong. Too fluid, too synchronized. They disappear into the elevator heading to the 3rd floor. I check the rules again. 3rd floor off limits from 3 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. It's not even 1 a.m. yet, so technically they're not breaking any rules. The clock on the wall ticks steadily toward my next perimeter check. On one of the monitors, I notice a custodian mopping the same spot in the hallway for over 10 minutes. Back and forth, mechanical movements, never moving on. My phone buzzes. A text from an unknown number. The blue is spreading. Northridge. Check the water. Probably a wrong number, but my stomach knots anyway. 1 a.m. comes, and I force myself to do the next perimeter check. As I walk past the staff break room, I hear voices inside, hushed, urgent. The door is slightly ajar. More than expected. Exponential growth rate. The security guard sees too much. He asks questions. My blood runs cold. I keep walking, pretending I haven't heard. My footsteps deliberately loud as I pass. When I return to the security desk, there's a blue post-it note stuck to my monitor that wasn't there before. In neat handwriting, it says, "Some rules are meant to protect you. Others are meant to protect us from you." I crumple it up, my hands unsteady. In the waste bin, it glows faintly in the dimness of the security office. The rest of my shift passes in a haze of paranoia. Every noise makes me jump. Every shadow seems to move. I can't stop thinking about Dr. Patel's too wide mouth or the voices in the break room. By dawn, I'm exhausted but too keyed up to even think about sleep. As I drive home, the sun crests over the Bridger Mountains, painting the valley in gold. It should be beautiful, but all I can think about is that blue post-it note and what it might mean. My apartment is a small one-bedroom above the hardware store on Main Street. Nothing fancy, but the rent is cheap, and old Mr. Bellows doesn't ask questions. I trudge up the stairs, unlock my door, and freeze. Something smells wrong. Metallic, like pennies or blood, but with an underlying sweetness that reminds me of antifreeze. I flick on the lights. Nothing seems disturbed. My meager furnishings, a couch I found at a thrift store in Bozeman, a coffee table, the TV I splurged on, all look normal. The kitchenette is clean, dishes drying in the rack. But the smell is stronger near the bathroom. Heart pounding, I slowly push open the bathroom door. The shower curtain is drawn closed. I never leave it that way. I reach out, grab the edge of the plastic curtain and yank it back. Nothing. The tub is empty. But there's something blue splashed across the white porcelain, a viscous substance that glows faintly, even in the bathroom's harsh fluorescent light. Rule number 9. If you encounter any substance with blue luminescence, do not touch it and report immediately. But report to who? I'm not at the lab. And what's it doing in my bathroom? I back away, fumbling for my phone. I should call someone. But who would believe me? The local sheriff, Tom Reeves, plays poker with Dr. Mendoza every Friday night. Instead, I grab a plastic bag from under the sink, carefully scoop some of the blue substance into it without touching it, and seal it tight. Evidence, though I'm not sure for what. Too wired to sleep, I head to Maggie's diner for breakfast. The place is mostly empty this early. Just a couple of loggers at the counter and an elderly couple in a booth by the window. Donna, the waitress who's been acting strange, isn't here. Instead, it's Maggie herself, a stern woman in her 60s who's run this place since before I was born. "Coffee?" she asks as I slide into a booth. "Please, and the breakfast special." She pours the coffee without spilling a drop, her movements precise. "You're the new security guard up at the lab, aren't you?" I nod. "How's that working out for you?" Her tone is casual, but her eyes are sharp, assessing. "It's a job," I say non-committally. "Quiet nights, mostly." She doesn't believe me. "Food will be up in a few." As she walks away, I notice a faded photo on the wall I haven't seen before. It shows Main Street from maybe 30 years ago. There's the hardware store, Murphy's Bar, the sheriff's office. But where the lab should be, at the end of Old Mill Road, there's nothing but dense forest. Strange, since Hank told me the facility was built in '97. Maggie returns with my food. Eggs, bacon, hash browns, toast. Classic diner fare. As she sets the plate down, her sleeve rides up, and I glimpse something on her wrist, a small blue mark, like a bruise, but with that same faint luminescence I saw in my tub. "Nasty bruise," I comment, trying to sound casual. She yanks her sleeve down. "Kitchen accident." Her voice has changed, becoming flat or motionless. "Enjoy your meal." I force myself to eat despite my churning stomach. As I'm finishing, the bell over the door jings, and Dr. Mendoza walks in. She's in civilian clothes, jeans and a sweater, but her posture is unmistakable, rigid and precise. Her eyes scan the diner and land on me. For a moment she seems surprised, but she recovers quickly and heads to my booth. "Mr. Keller," she says, sliding in across from me without asking. "Fancy meeting you here." "Dr. Mendoza." I try to keep my voice steady. "Day off?" Something like that. She smiles, but it doesn't reach her eyes. "How are you finding Clarkston?" "Settling in, well?" "It's quiet. I like quiet." "Yes, we all do." She leans forward slightly. "I noticed you assisted with the Lab 7 authentication last night. Did you observe anything unusual?" My fork freezes halfway to my mouth. "Unusual how?" "Any irregularities in protocol, staff behavior, that sort of thing." I think of Dr. Lanning's trembling hands, Dr. Patel's stretched mouth, the synchronized way they walked. "Nothing comes to mind," I lie. She studies me for a long moment. "The blue substance you found in your apartment is concerning." My blood turns to ice. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Please, Mr. Keller, we have ways of knowing these things." She places her hand on the table, palm up. "The sample, please." "How did you—" "The sample," she repeats, her voice hardening. Reluctantly, I reach into my jacket pocket and hand over the plastic bag. She examines the blue substance, nodding slightly. "A minor containment issue. Nothing to worry about." She tucks the bag into her purse. "We appreciate your discretion in this matter." "What is it?" I ask, unable to help myself. "BB-137. What does it do?" Dr. Mendoza's expression doesn't change, but something cold flickers in her eyes. "It's a bioreactive compound. Beyond that, I'm afraid the information is classified." "Is it dangerous?" "Everything is dangerous in sufficient quantities, Mr. Keller." She stands, smoothing her sweater. I trust you'll be at your post tonight as scheduled. It doesn't sound like a question. Of course, I say. Excellent. Oh, and Mr. Keller. She leans down, her voice dropping to a whisper. I'd avoid the tap water if I were you. Stick to bottled. The municipal supply has been compromised. With that, she walks out, leaving me with a half-eaten breakfast and a growing sense of dread. I'd pay my bill and hurry outside, needing fresh air. The morning is bright and cold, typical for early October in Montana. A few locals are opening shops, sweeping sidewalks, going about their normal routines. But now I'm noticing things. The slight stiffness in Mrs. Peterson's movements as she arranges flowers outside her shop. The vacant stare of the mailman as he delivers letters. The way 3 separate people stop what they're doing to watch Dr. Mendoza drive away. Their heads turning in perfect unison. Back in my apartment, I check the bathroom again. The blue substance is gone, not just the sample I took, but all traces from the tub. Even the smell has vanished. Someone's been here while I was at breakfast. I double-check my locks and push a chair under the doorknob for all the good it will do. Then I Google BB137 and Western Montana Bioresearch. Nothing useful comes up, just press releases about agricultural studies and environmental monitoring. Next, I search for Clarkston's water supply. A local news article from 6 months ago mentions that the town gets its water from Northridge Reservoir, fed by mountain springs. The text from last night echoes in my head. The blue is spreading. Northridge. Check the water. I grab a flashlight and my truck keys. Sleep can wait. I need to see this reservoir for myself. Northridge Reservoir sits about 7 miles outside of Clarkston, accessible by a winding Forest Service road that's more potholes than pavement. My old Ford F-150 groans as I navigate the rough terrain, pine trees pressing close on either side. The reservoir itself isn't much to look at, just a large man-made lake held back by a concrete dam built in the 1960s. A chain-link fence surrounds the perimeter with faded signs warning, Clarkston Municipal Water Supply, no trespassing. I park at the maintenance access gate and sit for a moment, wondering what the hell I'm doing here. I'm a security guard, not an investigator. I should be home in bed, preparing for another night shift. But the image of that blue substance in my bathtub won't leave me. The gate has a standard padlock. In my previous life, before the divorce and debt, I was a locksmith in Seattle. Some skills you don't forget. I have my picks in the glove compartment. Old habits die hard. Within 30 seconds, I'm through the gate and walking toward the water treatment building, a small cinder block structure near the dam. The hair on the back of my neck stands up as I approach. There are fresh tire tracks in the mud, despite this being a restricted area. The door to the treatment building has a new lock, much higher grade than the gate. Someone's upgraded security recently. I circle the building, peering through windows. Standard water treatment equipment inside, but something else catches my eye. A series of sleek metal containers with WMBR logos stamped on the side. They're connected to the filtration system by clear tubing, and each has a keypad lock. What the hell is the lab doing with the town's water supply? I make my way down to the reservoir's edge. The water looks normal at first glance, clear, reflecting the morning sky. But as I kneel at the shoreline, I notice a faint blue tinge where the water meets the rocky bank. It's subtle, but unmistakable. A twig snaps behind me. I whirl around to see a man in a Montana Fish and Wildlife uniform watching me from about 20 yards away. He's got a clipboard in one hand and what looks like a water testing kit slung over his shoulder. "This is a restricted area," he calls out, his voice echoing across the water. I stand slowly, hands visible. Sorry, I was just checking out the view. ID, he says, approaching me with measured steps. His name badge reads Erickson. I pull out my wallet and show him my driver's license, but keep my WMBR badge hidden. He studies it longer than necessary. You're new to town. Moved here a few months ago, I confirm. What brings you to the reservoir, Mr. Keller? I scramble for a plausible lie. I heard it was good fishing, was scouting spots. Erickson's expression doesn't change, but his eyes narrow slightly. No fishing allowed in the municipal water supply. It's clearly marked. My mistake. He hands back my license. What do you do in Clarkston? Security work, I say, keeping it vague. At the lab? His tone sharpens. I hesitate just a beat too long. Yes. Erickson nods slowly, as if confirming something to himself. He glances at his watch, an oddly deliberate motion. It's time for you to leave, Mr. Keller. As he says this, I notice a blue stain on his uniform collar, just visible beneath his jacket. The same blue as my bathtub, as the water's edge. Regular water quality checks? I ask, gesturing to his testing kit. Standard procedure. His answers are becoming clipped, mechanical. Finding anything unusual? I heard there might be issues with the town water. Something flickers across his face. Annoyance or alarm, I can't tell which. The water quality in Clarkston is excellent. Who told you otherwise? Just something I overheard at the diner, I lie. Erickson takes a step closer. I notice now that his movements are slightly off. Too precise, too measured. Like he's thinking about each muscle movement before executing it. You ask a lot of questions for someone who just moved to town, he says. Just trying to get to know the place. Some things aren't meant to be known, Mr. Keller. He reaches into his pocket, and for a terrifying moment, I think he's going for a weapon. Instead, he pulls out a card and hands it to me. If you have questions about Clarkston's municipal services, please use official channels. The card has the town government logo and a phone number. Nothing unusual, except for a tiny blue dot in the corner that seems to pulse slightly when I tilt it in the light. I should get going, I say, pocketing the card. Sorry about the trespassing. I'll escort you to your vehicle. We walk in silence back to my truck. As we pass the water treatment building, I notice a security camera I missed earlier, mounted under the eaves. It swivels slightly to track our movement. At my truck, Erickson stands watching as I get in and start the engine. Enjoy your stay in Clarkston, Mr. Keller, he says. And remember, some boundaries exist for your protection. I nod and drive away, checking my rearview mirror frequently. Erickson stands motionless by the gate, watching until I disappear around a bend in the road. Instead of heading back to town, I pull over at a scenic overlook about a mile from the reservoir. My hands are shaking as I grab my phone and Google Jason Erickson, Montana Fish Wildlife. His profile comes up immediately. 20-year veteran of the department, stationed in Gallatin County for the past decade. What doesn't come up is any explanation for his strange behavior, or the blue stain on his collar. I open my bottled water, heeding Dr. Mendoza's warning about the tap, and try to think. What connects the lab, the blue substance, and the town's water supply? And more importantly, what does it have to do with the strange behavior I've been witnessing? As I'm sitting there, a text comes through from an unknown number, the same as before. They know you were there. Not safe. Check the old mining records. Blacktail Mine. I try calling the number back, but it goes straight to a generic voicemail. I leave a message. Who is this? What do you know about BB137? The drive back to Clarkston takes about 20 minutes. As I approach town, I notice something strange. There are more cars than usual parked at the lab, despite it being a Saturday morning. The parking lot is nearly full, and I spot Dr. Mendoza's silver Audi among the vehicles. Instead of going to my apartment, I head to the Clarkston Historical Society, a glorified room attached to the small public library. If I want to find information about the Blacktail Mine, this is the place to start. The library is empty, except for the elderly librarian, Mrs. Winters, who peers at me over cat-eye glasses as I enter. "Can I help you?" "I'm interested in local history," I explain. "Specifically, the Blacktail Mine. Do you have any records?" A slight frown crosses her face. "The mine? That's been closed since the 70s. Why the interest?" "Just curious about the area." She studies me for a moment, then shrugs and leads me to a filing cabinet in the historical room. "Mining records are in here. Feel free to look through them, but please don't remove anything from the library." She leaves me alone with the files. I start digging through yellowed newspaper clippings, old photographs, and municipal records. The Blacktail Mine was a copper operation that ran from 1938 to 1972, when it was closed due to safety concerns. The vague wording sets off alarm bells in my head. Deeper in the files, I find a geological survey from 1970 that mentions unusual mineral deposits and unexplained water contamination in the mine's lower levels. A memo from the mining company to the town council recommends immediate and permanent closure, with no detailed explanation. Most interesting is a faded map showing the mine's location, about 5 miles north of town and directly upstream from Northridge Reservoir. If something was in that mine, it could easily have contaminated the water source. As I'm photographing the map with my phone, Mrs. Winters reappears. "Finding what you need." "Yes, thank you." I close the file, but not before she glimpses the map. "Nobody goes up to Blacktail anymore," she says, her voice lower now. "Bad things happen there." "What kind of bad things?" She glances around, though we're alone in the room. "My husband worked that mine until it closed. The men would come up, changed, distant, like they weren't themselves anymore." She leans closer. "The company said it was gas leaks causing hallucinations, but Frank, that's my husband, he saw something down in the deep tunnels, something that glowed blue in the dark. My skin prickles." "What happened to your husband?" "Disappeared in 73, a year after the mine closed. Him and 3 others who'd worked the deep shaft. The sheriff at the time said they probably went looking for copper to steal, had a cave-in." Her eyes grow distant. "But they never found the bodies, and Frank's truck was still parked at our house. How'd he get to the mine with no vehicle?" I swallow hard. "I'm sorry. Ancient history now," she says, straightening up. "But if you're smart, you'll stay away from Blacktail. Nothing good ever came from that hole in the ground." She adjusts her glasses. "Just like nothing good comes from that lab at the edge of town." My phone buzzes, a text from another unknown number. "Midnight shift has been moved up. Report to WMBR immediately. Dr. Mendoza." I check the time, 1:42 p.m. My shift isn't supposed to start until 10 p.m. "I have to go," I tell Mrs. Winters. "Thank you for your help." As I head for the door, she calls after me. "Young man, whatever you do, don't drink the water." Something is very wrong about this early summons. Dr. Mendoza has never texted me directly before. All schedule changes come through the security supervisor. And why would she use an unknown number instead of her work line? I sit in my truck outside the library, debating my options. If I ignore the text, I could lose my job. If I go in, well, I'm not sure what might happen, but the knot in my stomach suggests nothing good. I call the lab's main security line. "WMBR Security, this is Davis," answers a voice I don't recognize. This is Rick Keller, night security. I just got a text saying my shift was moved up. Can you confirm? A pause. One moment. The line goes silent for nearly 30 seconds. Yes, Mr. Keller. Dr. Mendoza has requested all security personnel report immediately due to a special project requirement. All security personnel? That doesn't make sense. We work in shifts, specifically to maintain 24-hour coverage. That's correct. Please arrive within the hour. The line goes dead before I can ask anything else. I drive back to my apartment first, needing to grab my uniform and security badge. As I'm changing, I notice something stuck to the back of my badge, a small piece of paper that definitely wasn't there yesterday. Unfolding it reveals a hastily scrawled message. Don't trust anyone with blue marks. BB137 affects the nervous system. They're not themselves anymore. Blacktail level 3L. L for Lanning? Dr. Lanning was acting strange the other night, but this note suggests she might still be fighting whatever's happening. I snap a photo of the note, then hesitate before putting my badge on. If something at the lab is affecting people, do I really want to go back there? But what choice do I have? If I run, where would I even go? And more importantly, if something dangerous is happening, I need to know what it is. I tuck my phone into a hidden pocket in my uniform and head out, making one quick stop at Clarkston's only grocery store to buy more bottled water and some protein bars. Better to be prepared. The lab parking lot is indeed full when I arrive. I recognize most of the vehicles. They belong to researchers, administrative staff, and other security personnel. What's unusual is seeing them all here at once on a Saturday afternoon. I badge in at the security entrance. The lobby is empty except for Davis at the desk, a security guard I've never met before. He's a large man with a military-style crew cut and blank eyes. Keller, he says, checking my name off a list. Report to briefing room B. What's going on? I ask casually. Special project. Dr. Mendoza will explain. His voice is flat, emotionless. As he hands back my badge, his sleeve rides up, revealing a blue-tinged mark on his wrist, similar to what I saw on Maggie at the diner. I nod and head toward the briefing room, hyper-aware of the security cameras tracking my movement. The corridors are eerily quiet for a facility with so many vehicles in the parking lot. Briefing room B is on the first floor, past the main labs. The door is closed when I arrive. I take a deep breath and push it open. Inside, about 20 people are seated around a conference table, all the security staff, including Hank, plus key researchers and Dr. Mendoza at the head of the table. Every face turns to me as I enter. Mr. Keller, Dr. Mendoza says, her voice clipped. You're late. Traffic, I lie, taking the only empty seat, which happens to be next to Hank. His eyes are focused straight ahead. I'm blinking. As I was saying, Dr. Mendoza continues, today marks a significant milestone for Project Rebirth. After 15 years of research, BB137 has reached optimal saturation levels in the local ecosystem. Projected on the wall behind her is a map of Clarkston and the surrounding area, with blue shading covering most of it. The darkest concentration is around the Blacktail mine. The integration phase has been largely successful, she says. 93% of Clarkston residents have been incorporated into the collective. There have been some resistance cases, but those are being addressed individually. She clicks to the next slide, a molecular diagram of what I assume is BB137. For those new to the project, BB137 is a neuroreactive symbiote discovered in the 2007 Blacktail mine in 1972. Initial exposure caused psychological changes, but our refinements have perfected its ability to create a unified consciousness across multiple hosts. my mouth goes dry. She's talking about mind control, or something worse. The symbiote spreads through water contact, but can also transmit through sustained physical proximity to an already integrated host. Her eyes scan the room, lingering briefly on me. Some of you are already part of the collective. Others will join today. I glance around the table subtly. At least half the people have visible blue marks somewhere on their skin, wrists, necks, at the corners of their eyes. Hank has a large one creeping up from beneath his collar. Now, we have identified several individuals who may be actively resistant. Security will receive their files for immediate location and processing. Dr. Mendoza clicks to another slide showing 6 photographs. I recognize Mrs. Winters from the library, and the third faces Maggie from the diner, despite the blue mark I saw on her wrist. The last photo makes my heart stop. It's me. These individuals have demonstrated awareness of the project and may attempt to interfere. They should be considered priorities. I keep my face carefully blank, fighting the urge to run. If I react now, I'm done for. Special containment protocols apply to resistant subjects. Dr. Mendoza continues. They are to be brought to Lab 7 for direct integration. Do not attempt integration in the field. She clicks to a final slide, showing what looks like security camera footage from inside the lab. The timestamp is from 3 days ago. In the grainy image, a man I don't recognize is strapped to a chair, his head thrown back in what appears to be a silent scream as something blue and luminous is pressed against his face by 2 lab-coated figures. Integration can be uncomfortable for those who resist, Dr. Mendoza says matter-of-factly, but the discomfort is temporary. The benefits of joining the collective far outweigh the brief pain of transition. My hand instinctively moves toward my concealed phone, but I stop myself. Any suspicious movement now could give me away. Security teams will deploy in pairs, she continues. Assignments are being sent to your tablets now. A collective movement around the table as people check their devices. I don't have a tablet. Another red flag that something's off with this whole scenario. Mr. Keller. Dr. Mendoza's voice cuts through my thoughts. You'll be partnered with Mr. Davis for the retrieval of Subject 5, Margaret Calloway. Maggie from the diner. But I just saw her this morning, and she had a blue mark. Why would she be on the resistance list? Dr. Mendoza, I say, keeping my voice steady. I noticed Subject 5 had already begun integration this morning. She had a visible mark on her wrist. The room goes silent. Every eye turns to me. Dr. Mendoza's expression doesn't change, but her eyes narrow slightly. An observant catch, Mr. Keller. Some subjects develop natural immunity after initial exposure. The marks appear, but the integration fails. These cases require more direct methods. She turns to Hank. Mr. Peterson, please escort Mr. Keller to receive his tablet and equipment. Hank stands robotically. Yes, doctor. As we leave the briefing room, I feel everyone's eyes on my back. The moment the door closes behind us, Hank's hand clamps around my upper arm with bruising force. This way, he says, but he's not leading me toward the security office. Instead, we're heading toward the elevators, the ones that go down to the restricted lower levels. I thought we were getting equipment, I say. You require preparation first. His voice is completely devoid of the gruff warmth I'd occasionally glimpse during shift changes. The elevator needs keycard access. Hank swipes his badge, then enters a code. As the doors close, I notice a small blue stain on the elevator panel. Someone touched it with contaminated hands. Hank, I say quietly, how long have you been part of the collective? He doesn't look at me. 8 years, 2 months, 17 days. The collective has always been here. It was just smaller before. The elevator descends past the first sublevel, past the second, stopping at B3. The doors open to reveal a sterile corridor with harsh fluorescent lighting. At the far end is a reinforced door marked Lab 7. Hank propels me forward. You will be integrated now. Resistance causes unnecessary pain. What happens to people who integrate? Do they disappear? Are they still in there somewhere? A flicker of something, confusion, annoyance, crosses Hank's face. We don't disappear. We become more. The collective thinks together, works together. No more loneliness, no more fear. We reach the door to Lab 7. Through the small window, I can see figures moving inside, lab techs in hazmat suits, surrounding what looks like an examination chair with restraints. Hank reaches for his badge to open the door. I have seconds to decide what to do. I've never considered myself particularly brave. When Allison demanded the house and the divorce, I gave it to her rather than fight. When my debts piled up, I ran to Montana instead of dealing with them. Running has always been my default, but right now, I can't run. Hank's grip is like iron, and the door to Lab 7 is opening. So I do the only thing I can think of. I go limp, dropping my full weight suddenly to the floor. Hank, not expecting this, loses his grip as he tries to compensate. I use the moment of imbalance to roll away and scramble to my feet. "Subject resisting!" Hank calls out, his voice still unnervingly calm despite the situation. 2 lab techs in partial hazmat gear emerge from Lab 7. One is holding what looks like a medical syringe filled with glowing blue liquid. I back up, looking for any escape route. The elevator is behind them, and there's no way I'm getting past all 3. "Mr. Keller," one of the techs says, "please remain calm. Integration is a simple process." "Simple for who?" I respond, continuing to back up. "Seems like I lose everything that makes me, me." "You gain far more than you lose," the tech says, advancing slowly. "The loneliness of individual consciousness is replaced by the harmony of the collective." My back hits a wall. No, not a wall, a door. My hand finds the handle behind me. "Hank," I say, trying to distract them. "You mentioned your wife once. Susan, right? Does she know you're not really yourself anymore?" Something flickers across Hank's face. Pain. Confusion. I can't tell. But it's enough. He hesitates. I wrench the door open and throw myself through it, slamming it shut behind me. I'm in a stairwell. No time to think. I start running upstairs, taking the steps 2 at a time. Behind me, I hear the door bang open. "Subject is in stairwell C heading up," Hank's voice echoes. I reach the first sublevel and keep going. My lungs are burning, but adrenaline pushes me forward. At the ground floor, I pause. The door will likely lead to a monitored hallway. I need another option. Above me, the stairs continue up. The research facility has 2 above-ground levels. Maybe I can find a way out through an upper window or fire escape. I keep climbing. Behind me, I hear footsteps in the stairwell, steady, and I'm hurried. They know the building better than I do. They know I have nowhere to go. At the second floor, I'm gasping for breath. This door has a small window, allowing me to peek into the hallway beyond. It looks clear. I slip through and find myself in a corridor I've never patrolled. Part of the administrative wing, judging by the office doors lining the walls. Most of the doors are locked when I try them, but one opens to a small conference room. I duck inside and quietly close the door behind me. The room has a large window overlooking the parking lot. It doesn't open, but it's my only option. I grab a chair and I'm about to smash the window when I freeze. Dr. Lanning is standing in the parking lot below, looking directly up at my window. Our eyes meet. She slowly raises her hand, pointing urgently toward the east side of the building. A message over the building's PA system makes me jump. Security alert. Unauthorized personnel on level 2. All available security to level 2 immediately. I have to move. But which way? East, like Dr. Lanning indicated, or try another route. Trusting my gut, I slip back into the hallway and head east. The corridor ends at another stairwell. This one marked emergency exit only. Alarm will sound. Perfect. At this point, more chaos can only help me. I push through the door, and as expected, alarms begin blaring throughout the building. This stairwell is narrower than the one I came up, clearly a fire escape. At the bottom is a heavy door with an illuminated exit sign. I burst through the door into blinding afternoon sunlight. I'm on the east side of the facility, facing a service road that leads around to the main parking lot. There's a perimeter fence about 50 yards away, and beyond that, dense Montana forest. "Rick!" A sharp whisper from my left. Dr. Lanning is crouched behind a dumpster, beckoning urgently. I sprint to her. "We have about 2 minutes before they secure this exit," she says, her voice tight with stress. "My car is there." She points to a blue Honda parked just outside the fence, half hidden among the trees on what appears to be an old logging track. "How do we get past the fence?" I ask. In answer, she pulls out a key card. "Maintenance access. Hurry." We run to a small gate in the fence, which she quickly unlocks. As soon as we're through, she relocks it behind us. "They'll still be able to follow," I point out. "Not immediately. I disabled the electronic access on this gate. Old-fashioned key only, and I have the only one." She manages a grim smile. Being head of biocontainment has its privileges. We reach her car, and she tosses me the keys. "You drive. I need to monitor your physical condition." I don't argue, just slide behind the wheel as she gets in the passenger side. The car starts smoothly, and I navigate carefully down the rough track until it connects with what appears to be an old Forest Service road. "Where to?" I ask. "North Ridge Trailhead," she says, pulling a first aid kit from under her seat. "We need to get to the mine." As I drive, she pulls out a small device that looks like a medical scanner and runs it over my arms, neck, and face. Good. No signs of integration. "Have you had any direct contact with the blue substance?" "No. Found some in my bathtub this morning, but I didn't touch it." She nods, relief evident on her face. "They've been introducing it into the water supply for months, gradually increasing the concentration. Most of the town is affected now." "What exactly is BB-137?" I ask, navigating a particularly rough stretch of road. Mendoza called it a neuroreactive symbiote. Dr. Lanning's laugh is bitter. "That's a sanitized way of putting it. It's a parasitic microorganism discovered in the Blacktail mine in 1972. At first, the mining company thought they'd found a strange mineral deposit, but then miners started changing, becoming connected somehow." "The collective," I murmur. "Yes. The government shut down the mine and built the research facility to study it. The original goal was to contain it, understand it. But over time, the researchers themselves became infected. Those who integrated saw the symbiosis as beneficial, not harmful, and started deliberately spreading it." I finish, the pieces clicking into place. She nods. "The collective operates with a hive mind. Individual hosts retain their memories and skills, but their loyalty is to the collective consciousness. They're essentially drones serving a greater intelligence." "What's the endgame? Why Clarkston? Why now?" "The endgame is the same as any organism: to grow, expand, survive. Clarkston was isolated, controllable, perfect for a test run." She pauses, checking her phone. "But it's not staying in Clarkston. The recent push for integration is because they're preparing to expand. They've been introducing trace amounts into municipal water supplies in Bozeman, Missoula, even Helena. Jesus, I breathe. How do we stop it? That's where we're going. The heart of the organism isn't in the lab. It's in the mine. The lab was built to study it. But the real source is deep in Blacktail, in a cavern on the 3rd level. And we're just going to walk in there? The 2 of us? 4 of us, she corrects. There are others who've been resisting. We've been planning this for months. As she speaks, I notice her checking her watch repeatedly, a nervous tick. There's something she's not telling me. Dr. Lanning. Elena, she interrupts. If we're going to risk our lives together, you should use my first name. Elena, I continue. Why was your name not on the resistance list in that briefing? And why did you have contact with BB-137 in Lab 7 if you're not integrated? She's quiet for a long moment. I've been playing both sides, she finally admits. The collective believes I'm one of them because I show signs of integration, the blue marks. But I've developed a compound that mimics the physical symptoms without the mental effects. She rolls up her sleeve, revealing blue veining on her forearm that looks similar to what I've seen on others, except the color is slightly different. More indigo than the electric blue of the real thing. It's not perfect. I have to reapply it every 12 hours, and close inspection would reveal the difference. But it's allowed me to maintain my position and access. We turn onto a narrower track that leads deeper into the forest. The trees are thicker here, old-growth pines creating a canopy that dims the afternoon light. How much farther to the trailhead? I ask. About 2 miles. Our collaborators should already be there. As if on cue, her phone buzzes. She checks the message and her expression darkens. Change of plan. Lab security vehicles have been spotted on the main road to the trailhead. We need to go off-road. Off-road? In a Honda Civic? Just a half mile. There's an old logging camp that gives access to another trail. It's longer, but less likely to be monitored. I turn where she indicates, onto what barely qualifies as a track. The car scrapes and bumps along, but somehow keeps going. After about 10 agonizing minutes, we emerge into a small clearing with the remnants of what was once a logging operation. A collapsed shed, rusted equipment, and a fire ring that looks like it's seen recent use. Parked at the edge of the clearing is a mud-splattered Jeep. A man and woman are waiting beside it, both dressed in hiking gear. I recognize the woman immediately, Maggie from the diner. "You made it," Maggie says as we approach. Her relief is palpable. "We thought they might have caught you after the alarm went off." "Nearly did," Elena confirms. "This is Rick Keller, the security guard I told you about." The man steps forward, tall, bearded, with the weathered look of someone who spends most of his time outdoors. "Jack Reeves," he introduces himself. "Sheriff Reeves' brother." "The sheriff is part of a collective," I say, not a question. Jack nods grimly. 3 months now. Tried to integrate me, too, but I've been moving off-grid since I noticed the changes in town. Maggie's been keeping me updated. "I thought you were integrated," I say to Maggie. "I saw the blue mark on your wrist this morning." She shows me her wrist, which is now clean. Makeup. When you're surrounded by them, you learn to blend in. The weight of the situation settles over me. "So what's the plan?" Elena mentions something about the heart of the organism being in the mine. Jack pulls out a topographical map and spreads it on the hood of the Jeep. Blacktail Mine has 3 known levels, but local legend says the original miners found a natural cavern system at the bottom. That's where they first discovered the blue substance. He points to a marked location on the map. Main entrance is here, but it was sealed with concrete in the 70s, However, there's a ventilation shaft on the north ridge that still provides access. It's how the government researchers initially got in before building their lab. And how do we destroy this thing once we're inside? I ask. Fire, Elena says simply. The organism is resilient, but extreme heat breaks down its cellular structure. We've brought thermite charges, enough to collapse the main cavern and incinerate the central mass. And you're sure that will stop it? What about all the infected people? Elena's expression is somber. Based on my research, the collective consciousness is centralized. Without the main organism, the distributed pieces lose cohesion. The human hosts should revert to individual consciousness, though they'll retain memories of their time in the collective. Should. I catch the uncertainty in her voice. Nothing about this is certain, Rick. We're operating on limited information and educated guesses. But if we do nothing, the integration will continue spreading. Next it's Bozeman, then the whole state, then... She doesn't need to finish. I get the picture. The climb to the ventilation shaft will take about 2 hours, Jack says, folding up the map. We should move now to reach it before sunset. As they gather backpacks and equipment from the Jeep, I pull Elena aside. Is there anything else I should know before we do this? She hesitates, then reaches into her pocket and presses something into my hand. A small vial of clear liquid with a built-in injector. If any of us get exposed directly to BB-137, use this. It's the only effective countermeasure I've developed. It won't reverse integration, but it will prevent it if administered quickly. How quickly? Minutes. After that. She shrugs, the gesture speaking volumes. I pocket the vial, noting there's only 1 dose. Let's hope we don't need it. We set off into the forest, following Jack's lead. The trail, if you can call it that, winds upward through increasingly rugged terrain. My security uniform isn't ideal for hiking, and I'm soon sweating despite the cool autumn air. Above us, the sky is darkening, not just with the approach of evening, but with storm clouds rolling in from the west. Perfect. Does the collective know what we're planning? I ask Elena as we climb. They know we're resistant, but I don't think they've connected all the dots yet. The mine is their blind spot. They believe it's inaccessible, but they'll figure it out when they see where we're headed. She nods grimly, which is why we need to hurry. Behind us, in the distance, I hear the faint sound of vehicles on the forest road. The collective is coming. The climb grows steeper as we ascend the rocky slope of North Ridge. The trail, mostly a game path used by deer and elk, winds through Ghent's pine forest before emerging onto more exposed terrain. My security uniform is soaked with sweat, and my city-soft muscles scream in protest. Jack leads us confidently, his movements those of someone intimately familiar with these mountains. Maggie follows, surprisingly nimble for a woman who spends her days serving food at a diner. Elena and I bring up the rear, both of us struggling more than the others. How much farther? I gasp during a brief rest. Jack points to a rocky outcropping about 300 feet up. Ventilation shaft is just below that limestone face, another 30 minutes if we push. The distant sound of engines has faded, but none of us believe we've lost our pursuers. They know these mountains too. We should keep moving, Maggie urges, scanning the forest below us. Storm's coming in fast. She's right. The western sky has turned an ominous dark gray, and the wind has picked up, carrying the scent of rain. Thunder rumbles in the distance. We resume our climb. The path becomes treacherous, loose shale that slides underfoot, patches of ice in shaded areas, thorny brush that tears at exposed skin. My hands are scratched and bleeding by the time we reach the limestone outcropping. Jack leads us around its base to a narrow crevice partially hidden by stunted pine trees. Moving aside some branches reveals a metal grate bolted into the rock face. Beyond it, darkness. Ventilation shaft, Jack confirms, pulling tools from his backpack. Installed when they expanded the mine in the 50s. It drops about 30 feet to the first level. While he works on removing the grate, Elena pulls me aside. Once we're inside, we'll need to move quickly. The central cavern is on the lowest level, but the collective will sense our presence. How? Some kind of hive mind awareness? Something like that. The organism uses electromagnetic signals to communicate between hosts. The deeper we go, the stronger its influence. You might experience headaches, disorientation, maybe hallucinations. Great, I mutter. Anything else I should know? The blue substance will be everywhere on the lower levels. Don't touch it. Don't breathe near it if you can help it. Even microscopic amounts can begin integration. Jack calls us over. He's removed the grate, revealing a dark shaft with metal rungs embedded in the rock. He clips a harness to the first rung and tests it with his weight. Hold solid, he confirms. I'll go first, then Maggie, Rick, and Elena. He switches on a powerful headlamp and disappears into the darkness. One by one, we follow. The shaft is claustrophobic, barely wide enough for my shoulders. The metal rungs are cold and slick with condensation. My headlamp, borrowed from Jack's supplies, illuminates only a few feet of rough stone walls. The air grows colder and damper as I descend, carrying a musty metallic smell. Careful at the bottom, Jack's voice echoes up. Drop is about 3 feet onto unstable ground. When I reach the bottom, I understand his warning. We're standing in what was once a mining tunnel, its wooden supports rotting and partially collapsed. The floor is littered with fallen rock and splintered timber. Jack is already moving forward, ducking under a sagging support beam. Main shaft should be this way. These are just auxiliary tunnels. We follow single file, our headlamps creating dancing shadows on the uneven walls. The tunnel occasionally branches, but Jack never hesitates, guiding us deeper into the mountain. How do you know your way around so well? I ask, stepping carefully over a fallen timber. Used to explore these tunnels as teenagers before they sealed the main entrance, he explains. Plus, I've been planning this for months, memorized all the old mining maps. The tunnel widens into what appears to have been a small excavation chamber. Mining equipment lies abandoned. Ore carts, pickaxes, shovels, all rusted and decaying. And on the far wall, something that makes my skin crawl. Blue stains, spreading like veins through cracks in the rock. Don't touch the walls here, Elena warns unnecessarily. We all give them a wide berth. The blue veins grow more numerous as we continue. They pulse faintly in our headlamp beams, creating unsettling shadows. The air feels thicker, harder to breathe. Level 2 entrance should be just ahead, Jack says, his voice tighter than before. A dull pain begins behind my eyes, increasing with each step deeper into the mine. From Elena's pinched expression, I can tell she feels it too. Is that... Maggie begins, stopping suddenly. We all hear it. Voices, distant but clear, echoing through the tunnels. Not coming from behind us, but from somewhere ahead. They shouldn't be here already, Jack whispers, tension evident in his voice. Not through the ventilation shaft. They didn't follow us in, Elena says grimly. They were already here. The realization sends a chill through me. Research team from the lab? Elena nods. They must maintain a presence near the source. We need to be more careful from here. Jack leads us down a side tunnel, away from the voices. The passage narrows dramatically, forcing us to crouch and eventually crawl. The blue veins are everywhere now, pulsing more vigorously. My headache intensifies to a stabbing pain. After what feels like an eternity of claustrophobic crawling, we emerge into a larger tunnel reinforced with steel supports rather than wood, more modern construction. "This is a government addition," Elena whispers. "We're near the second-level main chamber." Jack signals for silence, then moves forward cautiously. We follow, every sense straining for danger. The tunnel curves and then opens into a large cavern. We quickly duck back into the shadow of the tunnel entrance. The cavern is illuminated by portable floodlights set up around its perimeter. In the center is a cluster of scientific equipment, monitoring devices, sample collection tools, and a communications setup. Two figures in partial hazmat suits are working at a computer station, their backs to us. "Lab personnel," Elena confirms in a barely audible whisper. "Taking readings from the source. We need to get past them to reach the level 3 access." "Where is it?" I whisper back. She points to a reinforced door on the far side of the cavern, marked with biohazard symbols. "We'll never make it across without being seen," Maggie murmurs. A low rumble shakes the cavern, dust trickling from the ceiling. The storm above must be intensifying. "Maybe we don't need to sneak," Jack says, an idea forming. "If the power goes out, their emergency protocols would kick in." "Evacuation," Elena nods. "Standard procedure is to secure samples and return to the surface." "I can reach the generator," Jack continues. "It'll be near their communications setup. Give me 5 minutes, then be ready to move when the lights go out." Before we can object, he slips away, keeping to the shadows at the edge of the cavern. I watch his progress, heart pounding. He moves from one piece of equipment to another, staying low, using their bulk as cover. The headache is almost unbearable now. I press my palms against my temples, trying to alleviate the pressure. Beside me, Elena removes a pill bottle from her pocket, shakes out 2 tablets, and hands them to me. "Anti-inflammatory with a neurological blocker," she explains as I dry swallow the pills. "It helps resist the organism's influence." She takes 2 herself and passes the bottle to Maggie. "This is what you've been using to resist integration?" I ask. "Part of it. The medication blocks the initial neural pathways the organism tries to establish. But it's not a long-term solution. Extended exposure will eventually overcome the blockers." Another rumble, stronger this time, shakes the cavern. One of the lab techs looks up in concern. "We should wrap this up," he says to his colleague, voice carrying clearly in the cavern acoustics. Surface monitoring is reporting severe storm activity. "One more sample," the other responds, focused on extracting something blue and glowing from a fissure in the rock wall. I spot Jack on the other side of the cavern now, behind the generators that power the floodlights. He's doing something with the control panel. Suddenly, emergency lights begin flashing, and an automated voice fills the cavern. "Warning, power instability detected. Emergency protocols initiated. All personnel evacuate immediately." The 2 lab techs look at each other in alarm, quickly securing their samples in containment cases. "Backup generators should engage," one says, moving toward the communications equipment. That's when the lights go out completely, plunging the cavern into darkness, except for the red glow of emergency exit signs. "Now!" Elena hisses, pulling me forward. We run across the cavern, guided by our headlamps. The lab techs are too distracted by the sudden emergency to notice us at first. When one of them finally turns and spots our lights, it's too late. We've reached the level 3 access door. Elena swipes a key card she must have taken from the lab, and the door unlocks with a heavy clunk. We rush through, Jack joining us at the last moment, and slam it shut behind us. "That won't hold them for long," he pants. "It doesn't need to," Elena responds, removing something from her backpack. It looks like a small electronic device, which she attaches to the door controls. This will fry the opening mechanism. They'll need heavy equipment to get through. We're in a sloping tunnel that descends steeply into darkness. The walls here are almost entirely covered with the blue substance, which pulses and writhes like something alive. The air feels thick, almost gelatinous in my lungs. My headlamp begins to flicker, the beam weakening. The others' lights do the same. The organism interferes with electronics, Elena explains, taking chemical light sticks from her pack and cracking them. The green glow seems to hold the blue at bay, if only psychologically. "How much farther?" Maggie asks, her voice strained. I notice she's breathing hard, a sheen of sweat on her face despite the cool air. "The central cavern is about a quarter-mile down," Elena answers. "The heart of the organism should be there." We continue our descent, the tunnel growing narrower and the blue substance more prevalent. It's not just on the walls now. It forms stalactite-like structures that hang from the ceiling, dripping occasionally with thick, luminous fluid. We maneuver carefully to avoid any contact. The pain in my head has evolved from sharp stabbing to a constant, pulsing pressure. Strange whispers seem to echo just at the edge of hearing. Not words exactly, but something like them, urging, beckoning. "Do you hear that?" I ask. "The collective," Elena confirms grimly. "It's reaching out, trying to establish connection. The medication will help resist, but stay focused." The tunnel finally levels out and widens into an antechamber. A massive steel door blocks our path, marked with faded hazard warnings in multiple languages. "Government containment measures," Yelena explains. "Installed in the 70s when they first discovered what they were dealing with." "Will your keycard work?" I ask. She shakes her head. "This requires a different access method." She moves to a control panel beside the door and pries off the cover, revealing complex circuitry beneath. I can bypass it, but it'll take a few minutes. While she works, Jack keeps watch on the tunnel behind us. Maggie sits heavily on a rock, looking increasingly ill. "You okay?" I ask her. "The voices," she murmurs. "They're getting louder." I kneel beside her, concerned. Her skin is clammy, and blue-tinged veins are becoming visible at her temples. "Elena," I call urgently. "Something's wrong with Maggie." Elena glances over, her expression darkening. She's beginning to integrate. The medication is failing. "I'm fine," Maggie insists, but her voice sounds distant, distorted. "How is that possible?" Jack demands, rushing to his friend's side. "She hasn't touched anything." "The concentration of the organism is much higher here," Elena explains, still working on the door circuitry. "It can initiate integration through sustained atmospheric exposure alone." I remember the vial Elena gave me earlier, the emergency countermeasure. My hand moves toward my pocket, but Maggie grabs my wrist with surprising strength. "Don't waste it," she says, her eyes clear for a moment. "Save it for when you reach the central chamber." I knew the risks. A heavy thud from the tunnel behind us cuts off any argument. Then another. Something is coming. "Got it!" Elena exclaims as the control panel emits a series of beeps. The massive door begins to grind open with a sound of protesting metal, revealing darkness beyond. The thuds in the tunnel grow louder, closer. "Go!" Jack urges, pulling Maggie to her feet. "I'll hold them off." "You can't," Elena argues, grabbing her backpack. "You need to help set the charges." "And we're not leaving anyone behind," I add firmly. Maggie sways between us, her eyes now visibly tinged with blue around the irises. I can feel them. So many minds. They're angry, afraid. The door has opened enough for us to slip through. I go first, then help Elena pull Maggie through the gap. Jack follows, squeezing through just as shadows appear at the tunnel entrance. Human figures moving with that unnervingly synchronized motion I recognize from the lab. The door continues its slow closure behind us, but it won't be fast enough. Jack understands this too. He pulls out a handgun I didn't know he had and positions himself to cover our retreat. "Get to the central chamber," he orders. "I'll catch up." I want to argue, but Elena pulls me away. We half-carry Maggie down another sloping tunnel, this one larger and clearly natural rather than man-made. The blue substance is everywhere, coating the walls, ceiling, and floor in pulsating living patterns. It's mesmerizing in its alien beauty. The whispering in my mind has become a chorus, still unintelligible but increasingly insistent. My vision blurs occasionally, reality seeming to ripple like a heat mirage. Behind us, gunshots echo, followed by shouts. Then silence. "Jack," Maggie murmurs, a tear cutting a path down her cheek. "Keep moving," Elena urges, though her own voice is strained with emotion. The tunnel widens suddenly, opening into a vast, natural cavern that takes my breath away. It must be hundreds of feet across, the ceiling so high our lights don't reach it. Stalactites hang like massive stone fangs, many of them encrusted with the blue substance. But it's what lies at the center that stops us in our tracks. A massive blue formation rises from the cavern floor, like some alien tree, its trunk as wide as a redwood, branching out into countless tendrils that stretch toward the ceiling and walls. The entire structure pulses with light, ebbing and flowing like a heartbeat. At its base, a pool of liquid blue glows with such intensity it hurts to look at directly. "The heart of the organism," Elena whispers, awe and horror mingling in her voice. The pain in my head reaches a crescendo, and the whispers become a roar of voices, thousands of them, speaking as one yet distinct, calling out to me by name. "Rick Keller, join us, understand us, become more." I stagger, nearly falling. Elena grabs my arm, steadying me. "Fight it," she urges. "We're almost done." Maggie has fallen to her knees, staring at the central mass with an expression of rapture. Blue veins now visibly thread across her face. "It's beautiful," she murmurs. "I never understood before." Elena pulls the backpack off her shoulders and removes several cylindrical devices, the thermite charges. "We need to place these at the base where the liquid pools." "That's at least 100 yards across open ground," I point out, trying to focus through the mental assault. "They'll see us coming." As if an answer, shapes begin to emerge from tunnels around the cavern's perimeter. People in lab coats and hazmat suits, moving with that distinctive collective synchronization. They form a loose ring around the central structure, not approaching us yet, but clearly blocking our path. "See? The collective protects the heart," Maggie says, her voice taking on that mechanical quality I've heard from integrated individuals. "You cannot harm it. You will join it." "Maggie, fight it," I plead, kneeling beside her. "Remember why we're here." Her eyes focus on me briefly, a flicker of the real Maggie visible through the blue haze. "Too late for me, but you can still finish this." A shot rings out, echoing through the cavern. Then another. The collective members near one of the tunnels fall, and Jack emerges, bloodied but alive. He fires again, creating chaos among the collective's ranks. "Now's our chance," Elena says, handing me half the charges. "Jack's giving us a distraction. We split up. You go left around the central mass, I'll go right. Place the charges at the base and meet on the far side." I nod, checking the detonators on each charge. How long once they're set? 10 minutes. Should be enough time to get back up to at least level 2. Our eyes meet in silent acknowledgement that this might be a one-way trip. The serum, I say suddenly, remembering the vial she gave me. You might need it. She shakes her head. Keep it. I've been taking boosters that should protect me for another hour at least. More gunshots. Jack is drawing closer, still providing cover fire. Go! Elena commands, and we sprint in opposite directions. I run in a low crouch, charges clutched to my chest. The collective members seem momentarily confused by Jack's assault, some moving to intercept him instead of stopping me. The blue substance squishes unpleasantly beneath my boots, and I pray it doesn't seep through. The whispering in my mind intensifies as I'm near the central mass. Up close, it's even more unsettling. Not plant-like at all, but something between fungus and muscle tissue, pulsating with alien life. The pool at its base isn't still but churning slowly, like thick syrup. I drop to my knees and quickly place the first charge, pressing it into the viscous liquid at the edge of the pool. The substance seems to react, rippling away from the intrusion. I move 20 feet along the perimeter and place the second charge, then continue to the third position. Across the cavern, I glimpse Elena doing the same. She's placed 2 charges already and is moving to her final position. The collective has realized what we're doing. They abandon their pursuit of Jack and converge on us from all sides. I place my final charge and activate the detonator, then look up to see a lab tech lunging toward me. I roll away, barely avoiding his grasp, and scramble to my feet. "Elena," I shout. "They're coming." She's struggling with her last charge, fumbling with the detonator. A collective member grabs her from behind, and the charge falls from her hands into the blue pool. She fights desperately, but more converge on her position. I sprint toward her, drawing the attention of several collective members who move to intercept me. Jack appears from the side, firing his last rounds to clear a path for me. "Help, Elena!" he yells, before being tackled by 3 collective members simultaneously. I reach Elena just as she breaks free from her captor, but she's surrounded. Blue liquid has splashed onto her arm, and I can see it spreading beneath her skin already. "The charge," she gasps, pointing to where it fell. "Need to activate it." I dive for the fallen charge, my hand plunging into the blue liquid to retrieve it. The substance is cold and seems to cling to my skin, reluctant to release the device. I pull it free and quickly activate the detonator with trembling fingers. "Done!" I yell. Elena grabs my arm, pulling me toward a tunnel on the far side of the cavern. That's our exit. Leads to an emergency shaft. We run, weaving through stalactites and pursuing collective members. My hand burns where it touched the blue liquid, and my vision keeps blurring. The voices in my head have reached a fever pitch, urging, demanding integration. "Jack," I call, looking back. Elena's expression is grim. We can't wait for him. We reach the tunnel entrance, but a collective member blocks our path. It's Hank, my fellow security guard from the lab. His eyes are completely blue now, glowing faintly in the dim light. "You cannot leave," he says, his voice blending with the chorus in my head. "You belong with us now." Elena pulls a taser from her pocket and fires it point blank into Hank's chest. He convulses and falls, temporarily incapacitated but not permanently harmed. "Sorry, Hank," she mutters as we step over him. The tunnel slopes sharply upward, making for difficult climbing. My hand is fully numb now, and alarming blue lines are spreading up from my wrist toward my elbow. "Elena," I gasp, showing her my arm. "I'm infected." She stops, eyes widening. "The serum, use it now." I fumble in my pocket for the vial, but my fingers are clumsy, unresponsive. The vial slips, and Elena catches it. Without hesitation, she jams the injector against my forearm and triggers it. A burning sensation immediately floods my arm, spreading upward to counter the blue tendrils. Will it work? I ask, leaning against the tunnel wall as wave after wave of dizziness washes over me. If we caught it in time. Her own arm is worse, the blue spreading rapidly past her elbow. We need to keep moving. 7 minutes until detonation. We continue our ascent, the tunnel growing steeper. Behind us, sounds of pursuit echo. The collective isn't giving up. Elena is weakening visibly, the blue contamination spreading faster than mine. The serum seems to be working for me, the burning sensation gradually replacing the numbness, the blue lines receding slightly. The shaft should be just ahead. Elena pants, her speech becoming labored. Ladder leads up to level 1. We round a bend and see it. A vertical shaft with metal rungs embedded in the wall, leading upward into darkness. But Elena stumbles, falling to her knees. The blue contamination has reached her neck now, spreading visibly toward her face. "Go," she urges, pushing me toward the ladder. "I can't fight it much longer." "I'm not leaving you," I insist, trying to pull her up. "The charges need to make sure they detonate." Her eyes are still her own, but blue is seeping into the whites. If the collective reaches them, disarms them before detonation, everything is lost. She's right, and we both know it. Someone needs to stay behind to ensure the collective can't interfere with the charges, and someone needs to get out to warn others if this fails. "There's another serum," she says, reaching into her pocket with shaking hands. "Prototype. Might not work. Worth trying." She injects herself quickly, then shoves me toward the ladder. 4 minutes. Go. I climb, fighting tears and exhaustion. Below me, Helena positions herself in the tunnel entrance, a final line of defense against any collective members who might try to reach the charges. The ladder seems endless, each rung requiring more effort than the last. My shoulders scream, my lungs burn, but I keep climbing. The voices in my head have diminished to a distant murmur. Either the serum is working, or I'm getting farther from the source. I reach level 1 just as a deep rumble shakes the entire mine. Dust and small rocks shower down around me. Not the charges, too early, and not powerful enough. Something else. The storm. It must be directly overhead now, the vibrations from thunder transmitting through the mountain. I drag myself through the level 1 tunnels, following the route we took earlier. My headlamp died long ago, but the chemical light stick Elena gave me still provides enough green glow to navigate. Behind me, the rumbling continues, growing more intense. Then I hear it. A new sound, a roar of rushing water. The storm has breached the mine somehow. Flash flood. I run now, finding strength I didn't know I had left. The tunnels of level 1 blur past as I retrace our path to the ventilation shaft. The sound of water grows louder, and I can feel moisture in the air. It's coming fast. I reach the shaft and begin to climb, hands slipping on the wet rungs. Below me, water begins to pour into the chamber. 30 seconds. That's all I have before the charges detonate. I climb frantically, counting in my head. 20 seconds. I'm halfway up the shaft. 10 seconds. Almost to the top. 5 seconds. I burst out of the shaft into the storm-lashed mountainside, just as a massive concussion rocks the entire ridge. The force throws me forward onto the rain-soaked ground as a plume of dust, debris, and blue-tinged smoke erupts from the shaft behind me. The ground continues to shake, more violently now. Not just from the thermite charges, but from something more profound. The mountain itself seems to be collapsing inward, swallowing the mine and everything in it. I crawl away from the sinkhole forming where the shaft used to be, fighting to stay conscious as rain lashes my face. Behind me, a final eruption sends a shock wave of force through the air. Then, gradually, the rumbling subsides. The mine is gone. The heart of the organism is destroyed. But as darkness claims me, one question remains. Will it be enough? 2 months have passed since the destruction of Blacktail Mine. I'm writing this from a motel room in Billings, still not sure if it's safe to stay in one place too long. The official story about Clarkston is that a catastrophic environmental event occurred. Groundwater contamination from the old mine, followed by a structural collapse that released toxic gases. The entire town was evacuated, a 10-mile quarantine zone established. Hazmat teams from a federal agency no one's heard of before swept in, and the media was kept at a careful distance. I watched the coverage from a hospital bed in Bozeman, where a hiker found me half dead from exposure the morning after the explosion. I gave them a false name, claimed I was a tourist who got lost in the storm. They treated me for hypothermia, dehydration, and various cuts and bruises. The blue marks on my arm had faded to what looked like an unusual bruise, which the doctors attributed to my fall. I checked myself out after 3 days, just before men in suits started asking questions at the hospital about unidentified patients. Elena was right about one thing. The collective consciousness seems to have been disrupted by the destruction of the central organism. News reports mentioned mass psychosis among Clarkston residents, with affected individuals experiencing memory loss and confusion. The contamination in the water supply was blamed. I've been monitoring from a distance, using internet cafes and burner phones. Most of the former collective members appear to have recovered their individual consciousness, though many remain in treatment facilities for ongoing observation. I wonder if they remember their time as part of the hive mind, if they feel relief or loss. I've seen no sign of Elena, Jack, or Maggie. I hope they somehow survived, but realistically, the chances are slim. The mine collapse was total. Satellite images show a massive sinkhole where the mountain peak used to be. Nothing could have survived that. What troubles me most are the nightmares. Almost every night I dream of blue light pulsing beneath my skin, of voices calling me to rejoin them. Sometimes I wake convinced I can feel it moving inside me, dormant but waiting. The doctors found no trace of BB137 in my system, but I can't shake the feeling that it changed me somehow. More concerning are the reports I've been piecing together. Unusual behavior in Bozeman's water treatment staff, unscheduled maintenance at Helena's reservoir, a new research facility being built outside of Missoula. Small things, easily dismissed individually, but together they form a pattern that keeps me awake at night. I found a classified memo on a government server. Turns out my lockpicking skills translate well to basic hacking, suggesting that trace samples of the organism were secured before the mine collapsed. They're calling it Project Rebirth Phase 2. The collective may have lost its heart, but I don't believe it's truly dead. The rules were clear, after all. Rule number 9. If you encounter any substance with blue luminescence, do not touch it and report immediately. But who do you report to when the authorities are the ones spreading it? Tomorrow I'm heading east, as far from Montana as I can get. I've written down everything I know, made copies, set up dead man switches to release the information if I disappear. If you're reading this, it means one of two things. Either I'm gone, or I've found others who might help stop what's coming. There's a blue water tower on the outskirts of Billings. Last night, I could have sworn I saw it pulse, just once, like a heartbeat. Whatever we destroyed in that mine, I fear it was just the beginning. Some rules are meant to protect you. Others are meant to protect them from you. And some rules can't protect anyone at all,